So Kris does a lot of individual plants, flowers. They're so unique. You definitely have a distinct style that when I'm scrolling through Instagram, it's like, oh, I know that's Kris's. That is definitely Kris's. Nobody else does it like that.
Finding my voice, my style, I put a lot of pressure on myself with that. Simplifying it down and really looking to see what am I really passionate about creating? What brings me that joy? And it always turns to nature.
Welcome to the Still Building America podcast with your co-hosts Josh Welton
and Darla Welton. Americans haven't forgotten how to work with our hands. There's a dynamic generation of young fabricators, blacksmiths, machinists, welders, hot rod builders, metal workers, manufacturing entrepreneurs, and artists who are still building America.
Mark your calendars. The 32nd Annual Advanced Laser Applications Workshop will take place from June 17th to 19th at the Suburban Collection Showcase in Novi, Michigan. This event connects manufacturers and suppliers in automotive, aerospace, agriculture, and fabrication. Enjoy 3 days of presentations from leading experts, cutting-edge demonstrations, and fascinating open houses. Visit fmamfg.org to learn more. And now, back to the episode.
We have Kris Albro of Meltdown Metal Art with us here today. Some of our FMA fabricator.com/The Welder magazine audience may be familiar with Kris already. Former editor of The Welder magazine, Amanda Carlson, did a great article on Kris a few years ago, back in 2021. We love Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. But I wanted to get you on the podcast. We met you a couple of years ago through Nate Bowman. And actually, it was at Fab Tech.
Right.
And I was trying to remember what year that was. Was that 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
2 years ago now. Coming up on 3.
And then actually this past year at Fab Tech, I know you weren't there, but Josh and I went out to dinner with Nate and you came up and we were talking about you a little bit. I think I brought up one of your art pieces or something. And then he was like, oh, I love Kris. She's so awesome. She's just so genuine. And I can't remember off the top of my head right now how he said he connected with you. I think maybe it was because you were welders and both had military service. So it kind of put the bug in my head. I'm like, you know what? We got to get her on our podcast. I feel like we got to dig in a little bit more about her story. And obviously I love your art and I'm so proud that I have a dinner bell that you made.
I've never missed dinner since.
Let's dig in a little bit. Let's talk about what actually got you started in welding, metalworking in general.
Right. So I do not have the typical story, probably as most welders do. I did not actually even care about welding until about the age of 28. And then I went to welding school at Arc Labs Welding School in Charleston, South Carolina, and got picked up once I graduated from a furniture and light fixture company. And so that's kind of how all the art stuff started, because I was doing these huge metal light fixtures, and also that's where my blacksmithing career started as well.
Interesting. All at the same time. So did you actually take blacksmithing with Arc Labs or?
No. So Arc Labs is I think a 6-month program where you're doing 40 hours a day. So, 40 hours a day. Wow. 40 hours a week.
Gonna say, I thought I worked a lot.
Yeah. Nope. Can't hold a candle to me, man. No. So I went to Arc Labs, did that for 6 months. And then upon graduation from there, was picked up by that company. So Rick was my mentor at the furniture company, and so he's the one who taught me the start of my blacksmithing career.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
So I was only there for about 2 years, and then I actually went back to Arc Labs as an instructor.
Very cool.
How long? So that was back in, so all this was in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were back at Arc Labs as an instructor. And then how long were you there teaching? And did you enjoy teaching?
I absolutely love teaching at Arc Labs. I really, really enjoyed teaching adults. I think that in kind of the teaching atmosphere, that would be the favorite group of people that I have taught. That's fair to say, I guess. Yeah, sure. But yeah, so I did that for about 6 months, and then Nate called me and was like, "Hey, so just wanted to let you know you might get a call from a principal." And then as those words are leaving his mouth, I'm getting a phone call from a principal. And I'm like, "Nate, why is someone calling me from Grants Pass, Oregon?" And he's like, "Yeah, just go ahead and pick up the phone and, we'll talk later." And he had put me in for a job.
Sounds about right.
That
Yeah,
is
and
amazing.
Yeah, so I took it and sold everything, loaded up the trailer and Hank,
Gotta take the dog.
and headed west to Oregon.
Wait, so then how did you and Nate connect?
Right. So I actually just had dinner with Nate and Neoma.
Oh, you did? Oh, yay!
Yeah. Anyways, well, yeah. So Nate and I was at the furniture company, and one of the tasks that I had when I was hired on was they wanted to be able to weld brass seamlessly. The issue with that is that brass is such a weird color. You never know what you're going to get. And they wanted it color matched every single time. So you can't use silicone bronze, which is a lot of people's go-to. So I kind of like put it out into the world of Instagram. And I said, all right, here's the problem. I'm like, I'm not sure how to go about this at all because I've only ever TIGged aluminum and steel. And so Nate was, of course, the first person, because he's the most helpful person in the world, to jump in.
Welding Batman.
And be like, all right, we're going to figure this out. And so, yeah, that's kind of how he and I just kind of started being friends. And then we found out that we were both stationed at Shaw Air Force Base and we had very similar jobs. We just kind of just missed each other. And so a lot of our lives were kind of like just missing the connection for a long time. And then, I finally met him when I moved here to Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, we had
Oh my gosh.
he came down and actually helped me shape the school shop because it was like a hoarder's paradise in there. And so he actually was the one who came and like helped me start the shop and all that, him and Brian with Central Welding. And so that's, kind of how our friendship kind of kept going. And so, yeah, they're awesome. I love Nate and Neoma.
I love that so much. Nate, the weld scientist and the weld bringer together.
Yes.
Well,
He's keeping the community together.
he's welding Batman.
He is.
He really is.
He is so incredibly generous with his time and knowledge.
Way back in the day, he was one of the first persons I did an article on when I was writing for thefabricator.com. And we've been friends ever since. Like, he's just, love that dude.
He is. He is awesome.
We love this.
So much of his stuff goes under, like people don't understand how much he does. So it's always good to give him a shout out. Like, he's behind the scenes on so many different things that people just don't understand.
Right. I mean, yeah, we catch up probably once every other month and it's like on the phone and he'll just be telling me all this stuff he's up to and it's just incredible. That's Weld Scientist on Instagram for those of you listening. He's a great dude and we always pick his brain with all the welding questions because he always has the answer.
I know. What was the answer for the brass? What did you guys come up with?
Right. So, what we ended up doing was we had a water jet and we would cut a strip of brass from the same exact sheet that it was cut from. And then you're going to TIG weld it in a place just like you would anything else. But you have to be super careful because the 3 different metals in there all have a different melting point. And so if you heat it up too much, the nickel will pop and then you're left with a mess. And
it's not fun at all. No.
No. And so people are like, oh, are you going to incorporate any brass into your work? I'm like, I've got copper.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, copper and silicon bronze. Let's go.
I'm good.
We can do anything.
I'm not adding brass. I'm sorry. Like, if you want to pay for it, sure. But no, I did enough brass work for my lifetime.
When you were younger, junior high, high school, did you have dreams for your future? I know it wasn't welding.
Well, it's kind of a cool story because I am what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist. I've always been a very, very creative person, but I had a hard time always finding my median. I always was like, I did acrylic painting for a long time and, was pretty into it, but kind of lost the desire to do it. And then so in high school, I got really into art, and then I also got into the fire department. And so I didn't really see myself having a career as an artist, but I was like, but I know I can have a career as a firefighter. And so out of high school, I kind of transitioned into the fire department and kind of doing that side of things. And then that also kind of gave way into going into the Air Force. And so it wasn't until getting out of the Air Force, graduating from the Citadel, and kind of, going into welding that I found myself coming back into the actual art side of things.
Interesting. I read in Amanda's article that you actually, at the Citadel, you earned a degree in criminal justice with a minor in intelligence and homeland security.
Oh, no, she's actually Batman. He's the welding Batman. My bad.
I just wanted to make sure I knew when people were lying. Yeah, I did that and got my degree, and I got graduated, and I went, God, I don't want a desk job. And so I didn't do it.
I feel you on that. Except for I didn't graduate. I just dropped out.
All right. No, I graduated. That was something that was really important to me because I was told that I wasn't going to go to college when I was in high school. And so it was really important to me to get my degree. I would know it was very important to my mom. Little background me, I have a lot of learning disabilities. And so the book stuff doesn't come as easy to me. I also have some auditory stuff, so I can't hear quite right. So my mom's been just my biggest advocate. And so graduating college.
That's awesome.
It was big for her. So I wanted to make sure I did it. But I came out of college and me and my partner at the time started an automotive shop. That is where I got my first tiny taste of welding. And then when we went our separate ways is when I went to actual welding school.
When did art grab onto you? That was something you wanted to do since you were a kid. When did you know that was something you wanted to really do and go after?
Yeah. So like I said, learning disabilities. And so I didn't actually start being able to really speak as a child until I was about 4.
Okay.
I had a really hard time forming sentences, and so I could talk and, communicate for the most part. But there was things like when it was a little bit more of a complex thought, I wasn't able to really get out. And so, I always kind of turned to the creative side of kind of my emotions, and that is definitely how art originally took hold. And then, as I continued, there seems to be a little bit of natural talent, and of course that's always fun to see when you're like, oh wait, I'm
exactly
kind of okay at this, I might keep doing this. So it was just where I had the most fun in school. It's where I felt the most just free to be who I am and express myself. And I knew that I liked working with my hands too, though, so those things were always kind of competing with each other. And so, I didn't know because my school didn't have vocational school, my high school. So automotive wasn't an option. You could go to another high school and take their classes, but it was a whole thing. And so not a lot of kids did it or really knew about it. So I never really got to kind of scratch the itch of working with my hands. And then once I was in the Air Force and doing that and being a mechanic, I was like, oh, I really like this. And so my instructor at Arc Labs taught me how to make a rose. And I think that was the first time I was like, oh my God, I can combine it. And so from there on, it was it was an addiction. It was something that I wanted to get so good at. And I wanted to know all the different things you can do to change the shape of metal, make it more organic, make it just, it was a thing. So
it's very cool.
Yeah. I started with a welder and an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and that's all I had. And that's how I
Yeah.
started Meltdown Metal Art.
The bare essentials. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
I didn't get that feeling until I was 24 and I struck an arc for the first time, and I was like, oh. And then, about 5 weeks later, we were in the plant and I TIG welded for the first time, and I was like, oh, I'm actually good at this. Like, when there's a lot of things that I've liked in the past that I'm not good at, and I'm just not somebody who butts my head up against a wall until I'm going to make myself good at this. The TIG welding, though, was just like, oh, okay, I can do this. And what's interesting is, in my life, that's given me so much confidence. I was never really a confident person. And when I found that thing that I was good at, and then I saw constant improvements as I worked at it, like, that gave me more confidence than anything else in my life.
Absolutely. And I'm going through that right now because, of course, with art, there's definitely, like, I know this term is so overused right now, but there's definitely an imposter syndrome.
Oh, 100%.
When you're going to these big festivals, you're like,
Yep.
walking in these professional artists with these beautiful canvases, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Why am I doing this? And you're just like, I don't know. I hope I can do this. I hope I'm good enough. And, it's my, Justin likes to remind me all the time. He's like, look where you've come in just a year. He's like, look at the
100%.
caliber in your art in just a year. He's like, you're where you belong. You're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And so it's just like really trusting the process and getting that confidence and being like, okay, I got this. I know how to.
There were so many projects I was so nervous to take on early on. And then as I did more, and like everything that came out as I wanted it to, it's like, okay, I know I might not know what's going on when I start this, but by the end it's going to be good. So, and then you just kind of, like you said, trust the process. And by the end of it, you're going to have something that you're proud of and happy with.
And it is fun to look back, whether it's, I do like a little bit of painting. So whether it's like you go back and you look at what you first did, or even with Josh's work, Josh is way more prolific than I am. And yeah, he doesn't do as much or have the time. But yeah, just looking at like that beginning stuff to, what he did over the course of, 15 to 20 years is incredible. And that growth process is amazing. And
it only happens when you're continually working at it, because like the last 5 to 6 years, I have not been able to spend much time at all on sculpture. And what I miss the actual creating the art, but I miss growing as an artist as much as anything. Like each project, you try a new technique, you experiment, some things might not catch on, but other things take you to that next level. And unless you're doing it, you're not growing.
It's a whole other thing. From doing this part-time to really fully like committing 100% of my time to this, the growth is incredible. Not just even in my art, but like I have someone working like with me on just like the business side of things too, because everyone knows the worst business person is an artist. She's been really helping me develop there too. And just the difference, like I'm talking about things like quarters. I have quarters now, apparently. I don't know.
I use them to do laundry when I'm on the road.
Right. I'm like, you can't spend them, but apparently they're supposed to make you money if you plan them right. So, yeah. So it's been really, I feel like it's been like in hyper speed now for like the past year, really. It's just been constant, like growing and understanding like where I am and where I want to be, what the future holds for me, and like, what's obtainable and how to be realistic. And it's insane.
How long have you been in Oregon now?
I always get this wrong. I want to 2021, October of 21, I moved here.
So now you're a full-time artist, but you came to teach. So
Right.
What was the transition there? Did you enjoy teaching?
Right. So I taught high school, and I will not sugarcoat this. That was the hardest job I've ever had. Hands down, huge advocate for teachers. After going through it for 2 years, it's a very hard job. So it was enjoyable. I got so much out of it. I learned so much, and I feel like I really helped like that shop be a shop that could be usable. And I feel like I brought in a lot of skill sets that like all they were doing was stick welding when I came there. And I'm like, guys, we're not doing stick welding. I'm like, it's not used as like as much as MIG now. I'm like, if you want a job, you're looking at MIG. And so it was a lot of teaching them that. I was able to teach them TIG. I was able to actually have machines in there that will do that for them. But I think that emotionally, I wasn't prepared. And so when it kind of came to burnout, I found myself getting burnout a little bit too quickly. And so I just made the decision that I wanted the kids to have someone that is hyped to be there. And I think after a while, I was just like, I think art's calling for me a little harder than teaching right now. And so I still have a couple students that whose parents have reached out to me. And so I still kind of teach on the side, which gives me that because I do love teaching. Like
100%.
I love sharing my passion for it. I really do. And so being able to like still have that, but it being something that I just like look forward to because I'm like, I know I have a student for 2 hours on Tuesday. Like it's super exciting to me because I'm like, what are we going to do? And I can be just like one-on-one with the student rather than being like 1-on-31.
Right.
And so, yeah. And so that's just kind of why my path switched when it did. But I'm really happy that it did. I think I definitely made the right choice. So
I love that. You still kind of left the door open for teaching and sharing your knowledge and your passion, but you were just ready to jump in full time, which is such a scary thing to do.
Yeah, the fiance and I, we sat down and had a really honest conversation about if this was something that, if it was even time for it or if I should, wait another year or so. And yeah, we both decided that it was definitely time. We jumped in and it has had very scary moments at times and it's had really fulfilling moments at times. So, but overall it's where I should be. Like I'm having so much fun with it.
I love that. And to comment about your art. So Kris does a lot of individual plants, flowers, as well, like kind of like nature landscapes. They're so unique and they're so beautiful. And I actually feel emotional when I look at some of the pieces that you do that are a framed single flower. That is so beautiful just to put on. We think it's like this just like really simple thing and you don't think about an individual flower, but to give that bloom its moment is like so precious. I don't know, like I like it feels very real. And I love the like your use of color and it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You definitely have a distinct style that when I'm scrolling through Instagram, it's like, oh, I know that's Kris's. That is definitely Kris's. Nobody else does it like that.
Thank you. That was, I think finding my voice was definitely something that, like my style, I put a lot of pressure on myself with that because I felt like it wasn't, I mean, the first few markets I did, when you put all of your artwork up, like, and actually have it next to each other, I was like, oh, this is chaos. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, know. I've got arrows over here. I've got a fish over there. I've got a plant up there. Like, it didn't make sense. And so simplifying it down and really like looking to see like, what am I really passionate about creating? What brings me that joy? And it always turns to nature.
And what's the essence of that thing?
Yeah, it gives it its own platform because a lot of times, so the big thing was the forever rose, right? So everyone and their mother makes a metal rose. We all know that. We've come to the agreement that we're all going to sell them and just wish each other luck.
I have not.
Oh, whatever. Not yet.
I've been asked so many times and I
come to the dark side.
I will refer them to you.
Do it.
Yeah, no.
But the complaint was that people didn't know how to display them. And so there's a pub here that we all meet at, all my friends. And one time the I'm really good friends with the owners, and he's sent me a picture of some Target special, that was framed, and then it had some like metal tin flowers or something. And he's like, "Have you heard that about putting your flowers in a frame?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And it all came, I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, but on me. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try it. But no, it's.
That was me with bases for sculptures. So Darla had been asking me to make bases for years, and I'm like, no, it's got to be organic, blah, blah, blah. And then another friend who was kind of a mentor to me early on in my art career, Max Grundy, incredible artist, he said that to me, and I ignored him for a while too. And then I did it one time, and I was just like, shit, they were all right. And he said it like this. He said, a sculpture needs a base like a picture frame. It's like a picture frame.
Yeah.
So then when I saw what you were doing, I was like, that's very similar. It's giving it its own platform almost.
Yeah. And it gave me a way to be a little bit more, it gave me so much more of a variety of what I could do, because when you're just doing sculpture, right, you have to build it off of that piece. Like the base of your sculpture, it's all coming off, and you can't have a background necessarily because it's sculpture. And so transitioning it to doing these large frames, it's like I can do whatever I want, be wild with it. And so the ones that I've just started a new series. It's going to be the June series. And it's basically a vineyard locally. And I sat in this field last June, and I took some photos, and bringing that to life has been so interesting.
That's super cool.
Right. I've never done anything that's quite as busy. And so it's been interesting pulling colors and textures. And so I'm super excited to share with everybody. It's coming.
I can't wait to see it. You do a good job of sharing some of your process on your Instagram, which I love, but I extra love when you share something that you totally messed up.
You got to be honest, right? I'm not perfect. I know this. You know how like people are so quick to give you advice, right? And I think I made a reel not too long ago about this. They'll be like, oh, well, you should do this or you should do that. Early on, I'm like, how do I stop being mad at these people for telling me, like giving me ideas? Finally, I was like, listen to them. They're your customer. And so one girl came into my booth, and she was looking at the sunflowers, and she's like, it just needs something. I don't know, copper or something in it, and walked away. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then later I was looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And I was like, she's right. It needs more. Yeah. So I completely ripped it apart. I made it a thicker frame so that I could do a hammered copper background on it. And it just completely changed it.
Yeah.
And looked beautiful.
Thank you.
And the flowers really stood out against that.
Yeah, because a lot of times with those, I kind of rely on the background wall, right? As to like what the background of the piece is going to be. It's going to be your wall.
Right.
And some pieces, like the smaller, real simple ones, it's great. It works great. People love it because maybe their bathroom's blue and it comes through and it's just great. However, some of the larger pieces, you want to take that away because maybe the color background's not gonna match. Maybe it's gonna mess with the piece. And so it's kind of one of those things too where you have to find this balance of, does this piece need a background or not? And so with her bringing that to my attention, I was like, oh, this is something like I'm gonna have to pay more attention to, because I kind of overlooked that it does get lost when it's not on a white background. So yes, I ripped that one apart real quick.
Jesse James was on one of his motorcycle specials years and years and years ago, and he was building a copper motorcycle, and he was trying to build what is this? Was it a saddlebag?
I remember the episode. I can see the bike.
We all watched those.
I know. I'm like, I know this episode. I remember that because I thought the copper bike was so cool.
It is. And he's made some since then that are also so cool. But he was working on making, it was a bagger, but it was made out of copper.
Mm-hmm.
So he worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And finally, he just scrapped it. He's like, once you get done with it, you can't think, oh, I spent this many hours on it. I put this much work into it. If it sucks, it sucks. You got to change it. And I remember having that several of my sculptures. One I wanted to smash, and I was gonna when I got it back home from SEMA. And this guy's like, "Hey, I want to buy that." As I'm telling another friend that I'm going to smash it in a hydraulic press when I get home. And I kind of regret it because now that piece is out there, and I was not a big fan of it. But I've had other pieces where I've cut them apart and just like either redone the dimensioning or something. And you can't get to the end of it, and if you're not happy with it, there's this little thing that gnaws at you on some of them.
Right.
And I've learned to listen to that instead of just being like, that sounds like too much work. I think that's a big part about growing as an artist. You sometimes you find stuff by accident, and then sometimes you do everything you want to do, and it's still just not quite there.
So I have a period in every single piece I make where I hate it.
100%.
It is right. Usually it's like I've just welded it. I haven't finished doing all like the finishing touches, and I haven't clear coated it. And I always call Justin and I'm like, this is awful. I just spent 40 hours on this piece and now it's terrible. And he's like, so you're going to bring it home and I'm going to think it's amazing, right? And I'm like, nah. But yes, like that's what happens. See, I have to sit with it. I bring it home and I sit with my pieces before I clear coat them every single time. If I don't wake up in the morning and actually fall in love with the piece, then I know, okay, there is something I need to do. But if I wake up the next morning, I'm like, oh no, it works.
Yes. I do the exact same thing. I used to not do that. And like when I was younger, I was always like, I'm a welder, I'm not an artist. And so I was like, let's see how fast I can get this bicycle sculpture done. And then I'd want to clear coat it right away. And when I became more serious as an artist, I started taking more time. And then eventually I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I might finish this tonight, but it is not getting done tonight. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to look at it tomorrow, maybe the next day. If I have any changes I want to make, something that pops into my head, I can. And then after that, we'll go through the finality of having it clear coated or powder coated or whatever I'm going to do.
Right. And it's every single time. And so it's like this year, because you were just talking about how like the growth of becoming an artist is also like being like, yeah, that's going to take more time, but it's going to be worth it.
Yes.
I'm definitely in that period of, oh, no, because you thought it would look better this way, you have to do it. You don't have a choice because you will always be annoyed with yourself that
100%.
you didn't actually do it.
Yep.
And so it started with me where I'm like, oh, it needs another blade of grass right there. I'm like, but then I have to take the welder out and I have to cut a piece of copper. And I'm like, nope, you had the idea. Like you have
to do it.
You don't have a choice. And so, yeah, that started about 4 months ago that I was like, nope, if the thought's there, you're doing it.
The other thing that, Max was one of the people who told me this too was, your art evolves as you go. But never talk crap about a piece of your art because you never know. There's somebody who bought it, loved that piece of art. So there's like a lot of things that I look in the back and I'm like, I'm not necessarily proud of anymore, but whoever owned that piece loves it. And I get that every now and then. Somebody like, oh yeah, I have this piece. It's great. And I'm like, cool.
What I like to think about is someone, I don't know, because I think back to like the first few flowers I made or like the first commission I had I mean, obviously I look back on it now and I'm like, really? That's what you decided to do, Kris? But I think what helped me is I started looking back at those people supported me
100%
and bought something that they saw as beautiful and lit that fire inside of me to keep going. And so it's like there is not a single piece that I'm necessarily like, oh, it's not my best or, oh yeah, well, I should have done it differently,
That's good. I don't have that, but that's awesome. I aspire to get to that place.
Yeah, it helps, I guess. With
one, I guess it's a particular place in time and where you're at as an artist and where you're,
those first pieces I made out of my mom's garage, and she gave me a quarter of it to like use as my shop when I first started. And so if people have stuff for me that was made out of a tiny, tiny shop that everything was on casters because I had to push it around all the time. And yeah, I don't know. It's cool to think like someone has that still.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely isn't something that breaks easy or
No.
it's gonna be around a long time, no matter
Yeah,
where it ends up.
even if it's in the landfill, that shit's still gonna be there, you know?
Oh, you're fine. That's totally fine. Kris said a swear.
I'm better now, but I still think we need the beep button.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be awesome.
I do my best, but yeah, I have a mouth like a sailor. I mean, I was a firefighter, I was in the Air Force, and I was a welder. There's no chance. There's no chance.
I've been in factories since I was 17, so I'm working in restaurants before that.
Josh, how long ago did I start swearing?
Relatively recently.
Yeah, sorry, Mom.
Oh,
I went to a psychologist.
okay.
And I have an autoimmune disease. And so I went to a psychologist to help with getting through some issues with that. And she's like, what do you do to release your stress? Do you swear? I'm like, no, I don't swear. She's like, do you feel like you want to? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. She's like, you should.
You should then.
You just should do it.
Amazing.
She told me you shouldn't leave any kind of trauma in your body. So even if it's the smallest bit of anger and it needs to come out and, swear word, she's like, let it out. Don't let it just linger in your body. But also be aware of your situation. Is it appropriate, or is there a better way of releasing this stress, frustration, anger, whatever it is?
Have you ever thrown a tool, though?
Oh.
There's only one thing that's more satisfying than cussing, and it is when you're really frustrated and you just let that thing wing.
And then you got to look for it for 3 hours. And by that point, you're like, I'm just going to buy another one.
Right. One time I threw a tantrum and I threw something and it rolled. And it rolled to the foot of my boss. It was like the movie. And he's like, hi. I'm like, oh, hi.
With the slow pan up his pant leg to his angry face.
It was so bad.
As an apprentice, I didn't realize it until one of the guys told me. They're like, oh, we see you get mad and we just walk the other way. Like, I've been an apprentice just throwing tools around. Like, yeah, sorry. I guess I didn't.
Yeah, teaching high school somewhat helped me curb that.
Yeah, I could see that. You got to sort of control it. I've
A
gotten
little
better.
Bit. When I was in school, the famous tantrum was I was doing stick pipe, 6G, and I was coming around.
Oh, yeah.
I kept sticking it on the bottom, and I'm like, finally, it was like, I don't know, Charleston, South Carolina. I think it was like July.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sweating, like miserable. I keep sticking this thing. Finally, I rip the curtain open, and my best friend's walking by, and I rip my hood off, throw that at him, rip off my jacket, throw that at him too, and I'm scream, I don't want to be a pipeliner. And I stormed out and had a cigarette because I was over it.
I have a feeling we could share stories like this back and forth for a while.
Oh, yeah. That's the entire podcast. It's just
immediately 3 more things popped in my head that I've done.
Times you have been really bad at work. Well, here we go.
That would actually be a really good podcast.
Temper tantrums at work.
Yeah. Everyone gives their best temper tantrum.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
I got to the point where I started listening to classical music because I would just listen to heavy metal, Deftones,
Nope,
Tool,
can't do
and all
it.
this.
Lo-fi.
Yeah.
I literally listen to lo-fi chill, or I listen to 1970s jams.
Just chill, happy music.
Yeah. I have to listen to happy stuff. I used to listen to outlaw country and stuff like that, and death metal. And why am I in such a terrible headspace? And I realized it was my music. And so I switched to classical for a little bit, but then I was sleepy. And so I've sit on Lo-Fi Chill is a great station. So
that's good. Everyone's got their happy place. Yeah, I like Chopin, Rachmaninoff, but now I'm to the point where I can kind of self-regulate. It doesn't matter what I listen to. I can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our thing, right?
Yeah.
I love that, though, because that's so real.
Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about the quarterly stuff, the business stuff. And what was interesting when you're talking about learning business is I have a friend who I met when I first started doing art. And her husband is a famous surfboard artist out in California. And she does management, artist management. And one of her biggest pieces of advice was, if you're a talented artist, forget going to art school, go to business school, because that's the thing that's going to make or break you at some point, is understanding how business works.
It's so true. I got really lucky. Well, I didn't get lucky. So someone reported me for having the business out of my house. It was like a friend of mine that we got in a fight. So she reported me.
What the?
People are neat. And
Yeah.
so luckily for me, one of my students at the time has a big, beautiful shop out in the middle of the forest. And she was like, come join me. And so I moved the same day that they shut me down. I moved moved all my stuff to that shop.
Nice.
And she is retired from doing business stuff. And so she's been dragging me kicking and screaming, trying to figure out the business stuff. I've learned an incredible amount, and I can't stress enough how much every single artist that wants to make it needs to take a business class or find someone that knows business. It's just the odds and just the ins and outs of everything, especially with like someone who, like me, who just really doesn't ever take the time to learn that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's been just kind of interesting, but it will be the reason why I'm able to do this 5 years from now. 1,000% I can say that.
Like, it sounds like a big part of what you're doing with that is also learning how to plan ahead. How do you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years with what you're doing right now?
What's the dream?
The dream. Gosh, 20 years from now, I hope my name is big enough that I just have a really beautiful gallery of my own and people come there. So, 5-year plan, there's certain festivals that are harder to get into than others. And so I've applied to those big ones. I'm hoping to get in. Probably won't this year, but definitely year 5, your kind of goal is to do maybe 4 big ones a year and then just kind of do some galleries as well. And I just am working right now to get my portfolio going because I never really, I had Meltdown Metal Art since 2019, but I wasn't doing professional things with it, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't in galleries.
Yes.
I wasn't doing shows. So it's like, yes, I was producing art, I was selling art, but it wasn't like anything I could put on a resume. And an artist's resume is a real thing. And I'm learning that. And so that's just kind of what the 5-year plan is right now, is just to see kind of how far this can take me.
You're building your brand as much as anything.
Right. And it's also been interesting because we're transitioning from the Meltdown Metal Art brand, which was more of an industrial art kind of feel of like, hey, watch me weld. And we're transitioning more into a softer kind of feel where it's a lot more polished, a lot more just like art technique, less kind of like the gimmicky real stuff. Like, we're not going to be seeing that anymore. So
I appreciate that because that takes so much time and effort to like put reels together and spend a lot of time on social media.
Creative energy that goes in.
Yeah. I mean, when Josh was in his social media heyday, like it was
the good old
just
days.
photos. It was just photos. It wasn't having to like produce all your own videos for,
Which is why I got left behind. But anyways.
I mean, I did too, because I gained my 15,000 in like 2020.
Yeah.
Like, I've been at 15,000 for years and years and years because I came in when the whole thing was to be sexy if you were a woman, and I wasn't. And so I didn't get the sponsorships. I
don't know if all the women out there who are being sexy are actually all that sexy, but...
Right, and I just that wasn't in me. It's never been my MO on Instagram or off. Like, I'm an adorable person, That's how people describe me. Oh, she's so cute. And so, welding in a mini skirt wasn't going to be my jam, and so, it kind of went.
It didn't work out for me either.
I know. I saw you in the shorty shorts, and I was surprised that didn't take off more. I know.
It's disappointing.
It's not fair, right?
Punch to the ego. No.
Anyways, but so I just took a quieter approach, maybe, and it's been fun. I've met some awesome people. Do I really care that my growth has stopped? Not really. Because maybe my following has stopped, but it's like my art's still growing, and then I'm still doing really well on that side of things. So I'm not too worried.
Do you still have any blacksmithing tools, or do you incorporate blacksmithing into your work at all? I mean, I have my dinner triangle.
Oh yes. So, yeah, I smith on every single piece. There's an element of the blacksmithing on every single piece that I do. It just kind of depends. There's a lot more copper work right now. And so that is a lot of like heating and quenching to soften the metal, working it, doing it again. And then like I don't do the forge welding or tools and stuff like that you typically think with a blacksmith. And so I guess metalsmith is the better term at this point because I'm just kind of working with everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I also don't do anything correctly. And so, if a fabricator or a blacksmith were to watch over my shoulder, they'd both probably go, "Are you kidding me?" But yeah, that's okay. It works.
Yeah, I think they do that to everyone. I have not done anything right since I've been on social media. So
That's true. Yeah, I never learned about how much I did wrong until social media. I mean, people are very concerned about my safety. Strangers even. It makes me feel so good though.
They're all
'cause
looking
it's
out
like
for you.
Strangers are so concerned that I'm okay. And so that's really
I love
nice.
your I was looking at your social media where you have the standing on tables Friday. Was it?
Oh yeah. Friday stand up.
Yeah, Friday stand up. She's bringing it back.
So yeah, that started when I first started because I would do that all the time. I worked with a guy named Greg, and Greg was like 6'5". And so I'd always mess with him and I'd stand on a table and I'd yell at him.
Hey,
And,
Shorty, get over here.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I was just to feel powerful over him. I'd be like, "You come here," because he was also kind of my boss. And so, yeah. So this is the Friday stand up kind of started because I was like joking one day and I stood on the table and I filmed it, and I don't know, people thought it was funny, and so I think it's just like a moment where people can just laugh.
I
Like,
love
it's just
it.
like goofy.
I think it's great.
There's nothing to it. I'm just standing on the table, but it's just something you don't see in your daily life. And it's like, I don't know, you get so excited when it's the weekend and you're like, how do I get this like excited energy out? And you're like, I know, I'm standing on this table and I'm going to act really happy it's Friday.
It's the welders version of like dancing on the bar top.
Well, for a while there, I did the white girl wiggle. Because I can't dance. And so it's like I kind of like did this little wiggle thing and that was it. But then, you know, everybody was like, you just want attention. So I stopped doing that.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It was just like a fun thing that I did. And then I was joking because we got these big welding tables at work. And my shopmate was like, we were putting it together. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to stand on this and bring Friday stand up back. And she's like, yes, you do. I'm like, took a picture of me because, of course, I was already standing on it. And so, yeah, I posted it and people were they were so excited it was back.
I know. I was like, look at this.
Your moment of levity.
My God, it's Friday stand up. Let's do it.
I was like, oh, I have to participate somehow next week.
Yeah,
lots of
that was the
tables.
thing is like there for a while, people would tag me and they would do it in like stories and they'd tag me and be like, it's Friday. And so it's just like a fun, stupid thing that we do. I don't know.
It is. That's so fun. I say keep it up. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of fun.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Life's been real serious lately. It's
Right?
like, gotta loosen up a little bit.
I could not agree more. Well, Kris, we have loved hearing about your journey.
Thank
Loved
you.
hearing about what inspires you to create, what inspires your process, how you draw from the well of your life experiences. And I know that other metal artists and artisans, especially younger people, will be so inspired by what you do. Your work is beautiful and unique. I love the conversation that we had about really learning how to make it your own and appreciate the growth process. But again, your work is beautiful. I find myself so drawn to it. And hopefully I'll have an actual piece in our house, not just the dinner bell. Even though everybody go get you a dinner bell from Kris.
I don't know. I don't have many left. And it's done. I no longer make dinner bells. So you have
Yeah,
a coveted piece now of the Meltdown Metal Art Collection. Yes.
I love it.
Limited release of dinner bells.
So you can find Kris on Instagram at Meltdown Metal Art. Is that your preferred social media account?
I have two. I also have, so that's the studio page, and then I have the artist page that's at Kris.Albro. You can get to that one through the Meltdown Metal Art, though.
Okay, perfect. And you have a website, meltdownmetalart.com.
Yes.
Well, this has been amazing.
Thanks for coming on. Awesome talk.
Thank you.
This was a fun episode. Again, please follow Kris Albro at Meltdown Metal Art or Kris Albro, KrisAlbro on Instagram, or check out more of her work at meltdownmetalart.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening to the Still Building America podcast.
Still Building America is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association and part of the FMA Podcast Network. The podcast is hosted and created by Darla and Josh Welton. Episodes are produced and edited by Gareth Slager and Darla Welton. Additional production support by Dan Davis, Andy Flando, Dana Weicker, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, Elizabeth Gavin, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.
I just wanted to make sure I knew when people were lying.